come off the bench as a freshman and deliver like that?
It says that, he did, it's kind of could work on two ends. You want to have good presence and not, get overzealous in that situation, which the crowd can work to your benefit, which in that occasion I think it did, but I've also been around guys too. Our crowd gets so into the game, sometimes you can use that adrenaline in a wrong way. So he just did a great job of staying composed, would be my one main point. And then you don't want to overthink the situation. I mean, our hitters did a good job of battling, and obviously there was a mistake in there, but the pressure was kind of in the pitcher in that situation. I think Levi looked like he just kind of had a simple approach there, and he's so strong and talented, and of course he works hard too, that it ended up being a pretty explosive, cap on the game, really.
How big was Snead's strikeout there in the fifth?
I think that was huge, but really if you did, there was moments there you could pick one pitch from him or Marcus where they put a good swing on it, or we give off a free base. But if you just combine what those guys did for 9 innings, it was very impressive, and without sounding too snarky, it's kind of expected too. They both got a ton of experience last year, and the ability has always been there. And they just continue to get better in a bunch of areas. So they're capable of keeping us in any game that they're pitching in. And for right now, it seems that Marcus will start a lot of games, and Nate can really do a ton of different things for us too. So they did a good job, and our offense needed to reward them for what they did today.
We asked a lot yesterday about Liam to Franklin and what that looks like for you guys. What do you guys like about Marcus to Snead?
I think that plan maybe isn't as much, kind of the 1-2 combo. But Liam and Franklin it makes sense, and it's something we like. I think by the time you get past 3 pitchers, it's tough to, kind of rationalize going to somebody other than Snead if the game's tight. Now, there are some guys we trust. There'll be some guys we'll be getting back and things like that. But, you could make a case Nate was our MVP last year. You could say that about a lot of different guys, offensively and defensively, and of course pitching-wise. But he did so many different things for us last year, and we used him more than any other pitcher. So who that guy will be at the end of the year, I don't know. It'll be one of those things you vote on too. There's no way to actually decide it. So the one thing he can do is compete in games and help us decide games, whether it's a win or loss, and kind of trust him in any situation, whether it's somewhere during game 1 or we start him at some point or do what he did today.
How valuable is it to a guy who not only has that kind of ability, but that sort of mentality of, some guys are like, I want to start, some guys like coming out of the pen. He seems to be happy with both.
Yeah, no, I think, in a perfect world, he's the opening day starter, and he's also, game 3 starter, which is the mentality you want. It's the mentality a lot of guys have in this league. They kind of have an alpha personality, or just that are on our schedule. But he's also got the resiliency. He takes good care of himself. He's in good shape, takes pride in his throwing. And last year there were days where he wanted the ball where we just, doing the math, didn't think he should be available. So it's nice to have that problem. It's kind of a throwback situation like Kirby, taking the ball every day, as opposed to the new trend, I think, with pitchers, and I get it, is to train, and you're like a football guy. You throw the ball once a week.
Your guys have had a knack for grand slams the last couple of years. Why do you think that is? Is it good coaching, or?
I'm always going to kind of defer to, the physicality thing with Q and complemented by Beth and our nutritionist. Now, those guys get recruited to play in the SEC like a lot of other hitters, and some of the hitters that we see across the dugout this weekend, the ability is there. So if they're going to get that much stronger, now the ability to drive the ball out of the park is there and do it with less effort too. I mean, that was a really smooth swing, but Levi's always been a strong kid. He comes here, he gets stronger, and so the ability to impact the baseball is there. But also I think, we've got a really good situation with Ross and Luke Bonfields in our dugout, and Josh Elander. Those guys have all been that guy. They've been everything Levi has done and wants to do. Those guys have already kind of lived that situation out. So, I think all the hitters in our league are coached well, but I think those guys provide good perspective for, hey, how do you handle this situation? And then I don't know what Jay Abernathy said to Levi as he was walking to the plate, but it worked. Jay needs to realize as a coach, if a good thing happens, you take credit for it. And I don't know if anyone saw it, but it was a cool moment to see for another freshman to feel like he has the right to speak up in that situation. And of course, it all started with Dean Curley kind of giving Levi a little bit of tip on what he saw from the pitcher. And I think he even struck Dean out, but it kind of goes to show you, it's a whole offense against a whole pitching staff, but at the time, one pitcher. And so even though Dean didn't have success, he and Jay both helped Levi in that situation.
What do you like about Abernathy's role at the bottom of the order?
I think we'll take him wherever. We talked about Reese. I think Reese, you could pick a lineup out of a hat. Again, a really good lineup, whatever conference or whatever, and he could kind of hit anywhere in the order. Just felt like we really have a good lineup if he's kind of anchoring that spot he was, and then he gets on base in front of Dean. So Jay was that guy today. We talked about Jay being the leadoff guy for us, and we've had scrimmages. I don't know that we've done it here, but he's kind of been the 5 and 6 hole guy in scrimmages too, even though he doesn't profile as that maybe. He's just a competitor, and obviously he's got other skills you guys are starting to figure out, but he and Levi are both really, really competitive, and there's other freshmen that are similar too.
Couple more.
What does that tell you about the versatility of your lineup when you're able to plug these guys that you don't think have the framework to go 5 or 6 and you can really plug them if it's necessary?
No, it's great as long as they all stay on board. I mean, there's a couple guys too we haven't utilized the last 2 days that either could be a great defensive replacement or a real plus as a pinch runner. And then some other guys that are capable of doing some things matchup-wise too. So as long as everyone keeps their weapons sharp and ready to go, even though they don't necessarily get a chance every time, and then the guys they're being exchanged for are on board with, hey, Ariel played a great game for us, had one of the better at-bats in the game, and he was the first guy to help tell Levi to get ready. So if you got that combo going on, that's a nice thing.
What kind of confidence does that give you to see your freshmen have such composure either in the dugout or getting ready to be at the plate?
I've kind of, on the stat sheet, it makes you feel comfortable, like last year when you come to the park and the roster sheet, I should say, where everyone's older, because it just kind of is a crutch for you to, these guys can be leaders. But I've honestly, I don't like saying it out loud, but I've kind of thrown in the towel on some of those guys being freshmen. Some of them need to get smarter, so that's how they're a freshman. But as far as being, confident in their abilities and being competitive and having been in moments, like a game like today, there's about 6 of them that's they've already been doing that, and they've shown what they can do.
What's the pitching plan for tomorrow, and do you expect Teagan to be available?
Yeah, he'll be available, and we haven't told anybody.
You want to tell
We'll
us?
probably, I guess, we'll probably start Arvidsson, even though he started earlier in the week. It was a very short outing, and kind of reminds me of Liam Spence's brother, Josh Spence, started a Tuesday against us and a Sunday against us back when he was at Arizona State. The difference was, I think he threw like damn near 2 complete games. We won't do that with Arv, but we've got everybody available besides those 4 guys that have thrown, so we'll probably use a plethora of guys.
How much you guys having some, maybe the most game pressure that they've had this season?
Yeah.
Trailing in the 7th, what'd you like from the vibe there?
It just was needed. You can get complacent. I mean, imagine if a kid, they say if you touch the stove, it's hot. You learn not to do it again. But what if a kid just kept touching the stove 6 or 7 times? That's the only thing I thought of in my head earlier is, as a coach, you're kind of be on your toes, and our guys were challenged yesterday, I think more than they realized, and we warned them of that, and here it was, an even bigger challenge today. So you got to be careful about getting lulled to sleep when you're on defense, and maybe the balls aren't being put in play as often because we do have a couple good arms. And similarly, you got to be careful about getting lulled to sleep that we got this thing figured out. We've had, again, on your guys' stat sheet, nothing but success. There's a lot of areas in the dugout and on the field that we need to get better at, and the scoreboard will tell the story at the end of the day.
Thanks, everybody.